Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder of SportsNola.com. Interesting weekend among the local football teams. 2 exhilarating wins and 1 very disappointing loss. The Saints with a come-from-behind victory, 40-33 over Houston. And Lenny, I think this was a classic case of one team that had been there before and one team that had not. And it was evident in the fourth quarter.
Well, there's no question about that. Houston is a team that aspires to be where the Saints were a couple of years ago. And at the end of the day, they still need to do some things to get over that hurdle. And in my mind, while you scored 33 points and moved the ball up and down the field, the biggest thing was the Texans' offense could not capitalize in the red zone. 4 times inside the 20, they had to settle for field goals instead of getting 7. And at the end of the day, that was the biggest difference in the game.
And they still could have put the game away in the fourth quarter, up 26-17, got the ball back, and I thought their approach was curious, throwing the ball twice, running it once, when they should have been able to take control of the game at the line of scrimmage. They did not. You give Drew Brees a chance, you lose. The Saints could not be stopped in the fourth quarter, and Lance Moore and Darren Sproles and Jimmy Graham just basically took over the game.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is a team that's playing without Marcus Colston right now, has been without Chris Ivory the whole year. Two of their biggest offensive weapons of a year ago, and they haven't missed a beat. And even Pierre Thomas's role is not probably as big as it was 2 years ago with Mark Ingram there now. With certainly Darren Sproles being probably more involved in the offense on a play-to-play basis than Reggie Bush was. Different cast doesn't make a difference. You still got number 9 back there.
Yeah, Reggie Bush, 37 yards from scrimmage, 2 fumbles for Miami, and a loss. Just saying. LSU, just saying, they're the best team in the country. Should be number 1. They've earned it on the field based upon accomplishment, and I don't think there's any doubt that the writers have it right with LSU number 1.
Yeah, what are the coaches thinking? Cool number 2 with Alabama, but again, look, I'm a former sports information director. There's probably more SIDs voting than actually head coaches voting. You got directors of football operations out there, but I digress. LSU has proven over the first month of the season they deserve to be the number 1 team in the country. Leaving Tiger Stadium 3 times to face 3 top 25 teams and winning all of them in convincing fashion. They are, right now, the best team. Saturday against Kentucky, maybe nothing more than a glorified scrimmage for them. If they don't put up some style points, maybe they're not number 1 next week. Who knows? This is what have you done for me lately, society? And we will see. But certainly, no complaints thus far from that version.
No letdown against Kentucky. And then Florida the following week. The good news there is that Florida will be coming off of a visit, not a visit, but hosting Alabama the previous week. So that's a pretty tough stretch for the Gators coming into Baton Rouge. Tyrann Mathieu, National Player of the Week defensively for the 2nd time this year. That's remarkable.
He's outstanding. Interestingly, though, he wasn't the SEC Defensive Player of the Week, but Brad Wing, the LSU punter, was the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week. In my mind, while Mathieu forced 2 turnovers, Wing was the star of that game. 6 punts, pinned West Virginia to the 10 and back every single time, made them work from a long field. And that's a lot of why West Virginia piled up the yardage they did, because they had so many yards to cover to be able to put up some yards.
As I wrote in my blog about LSU at SportsNola.com, Brad Wing may be the best punter in the country already. As for Tulane, do we need to talk about it? Listen, every time we get interested, they make you disinterested with a awful performance, and that's clearly what we saw at Duke.
Well, and one of the things that we mentioned last Friday in our preview was Tulane put together 60 solid minutes. Now they need to put together 120 solid minutes, 2 back-to-back solid performances, which is not something we've seen. The most we've seen is maybe 1.5 in a row in the Bob Toledo era. Now, they've still got a favorable schedule coming up here in the month of October. Can they do something about it starting Saturday at Army? We shall see.
Yeah, the reality is they're 2-2, which is about where you thought they would be at this time, so nothing really is unusual in that regard. It's simply how they arrived there. Hey, one note, Prep Football District 9-5A, undefeated. Nobody's lost a game. Chalmette, West Jefferson, Brother Martin, Jesuit, and Rummel. Our poll question this week, who's the best team in 9-5A?
Now you're putting me on the spot here. Based on what I've seen so far, I've got to believe West Jeff, and it's going to be... that's going to be some real battles going on in the second half of the season when you get into district play.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. All 5 could make the playoffs. As always, Lenny, thank you for the visit.
All right.
For SportsNola.com, I'm Ken Trahan.